During the summer vacation, in order to become more beautiful, I signed up for a well-known weight loss club. It was said that if you stayed here for just 2.5 months, no matter how overweight you were guaranteed to slim down into a flash of lightning. However, on the very first day I arrived here, I regretted it because I realized that this club, hidden deep in the mountains, was far too eerie. On the night I moved in, a strange woman crawled under my bed and let out a bizarre laugh. The entire club's manager, who also acted as our instructor, and even the students who were here just like me, all carried a gloomy and unsettling air. Of course, what shocked me the most was the club's so-called weight loss method. The amount of exercise each day was pitifully small. Instead, our breakfast, lunch, and dinner were so lavish it was almost absurd. All kinds of snacks and desserts were available too, and the only thing that could be linked to weight loss was that every single day, we were required to drink 4 liters of a strange, specially made slimming potion. On the 5th day after my arrival, that same strange girl suddenly came up to me. Is the food here delicious? If it is, eat more. But let me remind you, if you eat too much, it could kill you. After saying that, she once again broke into her eerie laughter. At first, I simply thought this woman was some lunatic who had lost her mind from dieting, so I didn't take her words seriously. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of an obese woman in the corner of the cafeteria. She was so fat, it looked like she could barely walk steadily. It was clear she had been here longer than me, so why was she still so overweight? A seed of suspicion began to take root in my mind. In the days that followed, this suspicion only grew heavier. Our instructor added a new weight loss program, listening to specific songs and staring at a strange scroll painting that seemed to depict nothing recognizable. The instructor declared it was his exclusive weight loss secret. All we needed to do was gaze at it for a dozen minutes each day, and it would stimulate and destroy fat cells. He then handed each of us a copy, telling us to put it up in our rooms. I couldn't help doubting, could this really work? Still, I eventually put mine up. That night, because of the special pressure boards on the floor, the soles of my feet were rubbed raw and numb. Though phones were allowed, there was no signal. This place felt no different from being stuck at work. Soon, I began to reflect on all the strange things I had seen and experienced these past days, because I kept feeling like I was slipping further and further away from the real world. Since coming here, my heartbeat had been unnaturally fast. Every day, I would sweat profusely. Sure, the club itself was a little hot, but the sheer amount of sweat was too much. The worst part was, even though I was constantly drinking water, I was still unbearably thirsty. But suspicion aside, in order to slim down, I continued to follow that instructor's diet plan and rules for a week, yet my body shape hadn't changed at all. In fact, I had gained weight. My mind went blank. Hadn't they promised that as long as I obeyed, I would definitely lose weight? And yet here I was, even fatter, combined with the doubts I already had. From that day on, I tore down the scroll he gave me and poured out every drop of the slimming potion. But after that, I discovered my mental state began to plummet rapidly, and the food in the cafeteria changed too. No longer was it delicious vegetables and steak, but instead foul-smelling rotten meat. Just looking at it made me sick. Yet, unbelievably, all the other students around me were devouring it with delight, juices dripping down their chins as they drooled. My stomach turned violently. That afternoon, I nearly vomited up my own intestines. Why was this happening? I couldn't make sense of it, but just after I finished throwing up, a voice suddenly called from behind me. Excuse me, member, what are you doing? You didn't drink the water I gave you, did you? And not only that, you didn't eat the food in the cafeteria either, did you? You fat people are really strange, always clinging to odd, stubborn ideas. Just listen to me obediently. After all, compared to my weight loss package, eating less and exercising more is the hardest thing for you, isn't it? Hearing this, I hesitated for a few seconds. Then I confessed to the instructor all my unease and questioned whether his plan was even real. But instead of being angry, the instructor laughed in a bizarre way. To him, all the strange things I felt were illusions. The only truly strange thing was the mountain of fat clinging to my body. Of course, if I truly wished to leave, he wouldn't stop me, but everything had to follow the contract. The exit door was always open. However, I could only walk out once I reached the target weight stated in the contract. For this, they even built special doors that only people at the required weight could pass through. Obviously, I couldn't. To me, none of this was my fault, so I accused the instructor of making me even fatter, of stuffing me with disgusting layers of flesh. Respected member, are you mistaken? The reason you became this fat isn't because of me, it's because you lack self-control. And who told you this stuff on your belly was fat? Let me tell you, these things in your body are not fat at all. They are the product of our special slimming potion, combining with your fat. Right now, even if you look ugly, You have already reached the stage where toxins can be expelled. That very night, I was taken to the boiler room for 40 minutes of high-temperature roasting. When I arrived, many students were already there. What struck me as odd was that they all had their heads wrapped in towels. No one spoke. I picked a corner seat and endured the scorching heat, just like everyone else, but perhaps because I was too overweight, I quickly couldn't take it anymore. I opened my eyes and saw a scene I would never forget in my life. A female student melted right in front of me. Every hair on my body stood on end. I pounded frantically on the door, screaming for the assistants outside. The door soon opened, and the assistants called us all out. I immediately told them what I had seen, but to my shock, when they saw the puddle of strange liquid in the boiler room, they didn't panic at all. Calmly, they just told others to clean it up. I, on the other hand, was completely losing it. How are you, Member Cow? Can you still endure? You didn't expose your face the whole time, did you? Next time, remember to cover your face with a towel. That way, your facial skin will be protected. After saying this, the assistant checked his watch and announced it was time for the next detox session. Before long, I was buried alive. The assistant told us this was the instructor's unique enzyme therapy. Through the heat released by the enzymes, toxins in the body would be expelled, together with the club's exclusive weight loss plan. As long as we remain calm, the fat would slowly detach from our bodies. I fell asleep. When I woke again, I had truly lost a lot of weight. My weight dropped from 120 kilograms to 91. The assistant told me it wasn't over yet. The first detox had to reduce 30% of body weight. I was still short by 8 kilograms, so I needed to drink the special slimming potion and take medication to complete the final detox project. Using the giant restroom in this place, each stall door had a scale in front of it. Only by reaching the required weight could you come out. Of course, it didn't matter what method you used, and so I began my effort. It felt like I was expelling my very intestines, but it worked. I lost 4 kilograms. Meanwhile, others had already reached their target weight and walked out. Time flew by, and before I knew it, it was already past midnight. At this point, I was only 300 grams away from reaching the target, but by now, I was completely exhausted, with nothing left to expel, so I began trying other methods. But just then, that strange girl appeared before me again. You can't get anything out anymore, can you? Either way, how come you're still short of 300 grams? If you think just spitting will work, forget it's useless. But I have a pretty good idea for you. How about cutting off your left hand? I figure your left hand should weigh a bit over 300 grams. You can lend me the extra weight. Of course, you don't have to lend it. You can just stay here in the bathroom and wait for the consequences of failing the weight loss program. Coincidentally, she said she had only learned about this herself on my very first day here. That morning, as usual, she had gotten up early. She checked her body to see if she had slimmed down. Then came the weigh-in. Since it had to be net body weight, she removed everything external, hair, nails, anything that could add even a fraction. At that time, her weight was down to 45.99 kilograms. After the weigh-in, the assistant brought the daily slimming water, but this time, the portion was suddenly smaller. The assistant explained that everything was strictly measured according to the doctor's prescription. Without enough slimming water, her progress would slow, so she immediately went to ask the instructor about it. The instructor, however, firmly told her she needed to gain weight because constant fasting and induced vomiting had ruined her stomach and intestines. She had to eat properly in order to continue the next phase of the program. It was at that moment the guard suddenly appeared. Instructor, the member in room 302 has gone missing. She seems to have disappeared during detox, probably ran away. The instructor was furious at the news, but all she could think of was, if that woman ran away, then there must still be leftover slimming water in her room. That afternoon, she quietly snuck into the underground storage. She found the key to room 302, but just as she was about to leave, she saw the guard dragging a dead girl inside. From the look of it, the body was none other than the supposedly missing woman from room 302. At the time, she didn't think too much about it. She still broke into room 302. There, she found the leftover slimming water. As for what happened afterward, she didn't continue her story, because now, it was me who had come here. So, if I couldn't lose the required weight, I would eventually die. The woman stopped talking and, without hesitation, swung her knife at me. I was so terrified I nearly wet myself, but it was precisely that sudden stream of urine, that finally brought me down to the last 300 grams. Right then, the assistant came to me, perhaps noticing the unease I'd been carrying these days. The assistant calmly explained, whether it's the rotten steaks, or the disappearance and supposed death of the woman in 302, or even your melted companions, some are simply hallucinations caused by the special slimming foods. Others are just rumors spread by word of mouth. As for the real 302 member, she's undergoing deeper treatment right now. Sure, Her whole body is covered in bandages and tubes. But her condition is actually fine. She was simply too overweight, and her body had developed resistance to the drugs. That's why the instructor had no choice but to perform liposuction. That's what happens when someone fails the weight loss program. After this explanation, my heart slowly settled, but at the same time, I grew even more puzzled. Why had that crazy woman spouted so many lies? In the days that followed, to better lose weight, I joined Coach Mingxiu's gym. There weren't many instructors in the club, but without a doubt, Mingxiu was the most handsome, and for some reason, since I joined his class, he always gave me more encouragement than the others. So gentle, so caring, my young heart couldn't help but flutter. I threw myself into training even harder, until that one accident. Because I kept pushing the treadmill speed higher, my pants came off in front of everyone, including my beloved Coach Mingxiu. That day became the darkest day of my life. From then on, I gave up personal training sessions. I simply couldn't face him anymore, so I stuck with the body management program. It was boring, but my weight kept dropping even without exercise. Later, the instructor personally provided me with new slimming medicine and a brand new program, but the program was basically just lying in my room every day. I strictly followed the schedule he gave me, mindlessly waiting for each meal. But on the 7th day, I saw that strange thin woman again. She had grown even thinner than before. On closer look, 2 of her fingers were missing. Thinking back to my earlier encounter, I realized she had probably cut them off herself to pass the weight requirement. What shocked me most, however, was that she didn't recognize me anymore. So she really was insane. At that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. After all, if she was just a lunatic, then everything she said was meaningless. Still, out of curiosity, I asked her about her missing fingers. You mean this? Oh, that's my secret. But since you're cute, I'll tell you a little. Here in this club, at the beginning, weight comes off really fast, but as time goes on, it slows down. Eventually, you hit a plateau. From a certain point, even if I stopped eating, I wouldn't lose weight, because when I didn't eat, other parts of my body started absorbing nutrients instead of my mouth. The most obvious were my fingers, so I cut them off. After that, I broke through the plateau and kept losing weight, and it was the doctor himself who cut them off for me. Now, even when I eat, I still get thinner. Watching her face light up with excitement, all I could think was that she had cut away her sanity along with her fingers. After the meal, I followed the assistant's instructions to attend the weekly special lecture given by the instructor. I even received a book that contained the lecture content, but unexpectedly, before I left, the instructor stopped me. Member Gao, you've been here for quite some time now, and from the looks of it, you've lost quite a lot of weight. It reminds me of the very first time I met you. Back then, you were like a pig that couldn't control its appetite. You even shamelessly ate my cake. It was based on that, and on your later progress, that I designed your personalized weight loss plan. But that's not why I called you here today. As you know, I'm not only the instructor of this club, I'm also its owner. Besides managing the members every day, my most important task is developing new slimming methods. Over the years, I've created many products, but it's still not enough, because I want to find the perfect weight loss method. And if it's just me working alone, I'll never achieve it. That's why I need your help now. The moment they said this, my mind screamed in resistance, because as one of the first test subjects, I might face unimaginable side effects. Even though the instructor assured me the worst that could happen was simply not losing weight, I still chose to stick with my current plan. That night, after leaving the instructor's office, I didn't go back to my room. Instead, I went to check on the obese woman undergoing liposuction. What met my eyes was chaos. A floor covered in blood. A terrible premonition filled me. With so much blood, could that woman really still be alive? Excuse me, what are you doing here? A sudden voice made me nearly wet myself again. What's wrong, member? Did something happen? There's so much blood in this room, and look at your condition. Are you really fine? Oh, that's not blood. I just spilled some disinfectant by accident. As for the fat woman I was asking about, she pointed to her own legs, full of needle marks. That's her. Before she slimmed down, I was stunned on the spot. Just a week ago, she had weighed over 200 kilograms, so heavy she needed 2 chairs just to sit. But now, she looked like a slim delinquent girl. Her skin was still loose, but the instructor promised it would recover soon. Compared to that, not losing weight was nothing. The white-haired girl grew excited, then asked why I had come here. I didn't hide it. I told her I wanted to see how her recovery was going, and I also mentioned the new slimming project the doctor had developed. Judging by the results so far, the instructor really did have some skill. Either way, weren't you the one who stayed in room 302 before? After you left, I moved in there. What are you talking about? Little sister, I never lived on the 3rd floor. Back then, Just walking was a problem for me, let alone climbing stairs. Hearing this, I was completely stunned. My mind involuntarily flashed back to that crazy woman and her claim that the original resident of room 302 was already dead. This meant that the assistant's earlier reassurance to me was likely false. At the same time, deep in the pitch-black corridor, I could hear the assistant's footsteps slowly approaching. I had to hide quickly if I were found. He would surely be dragged down with me, so I ducked under the filthy bed. Fortunately, the assistant didn't notice anything unusual, and since the white-haired girl had refused his help to clean, I narrowly escaped disaster. When the two finally left, I crawled out, my body covered in filth. But then, what was that? Just as I was about to leave, I suddenly noticed something in the corner of the room's ceiling. Something seemed to be watching me.